So today I'll explain about cross section of ovary. So ovary is mesodermally derived and outermost to the ovary there is an epithelium present which is epithelium. It is many times referred as germinal epithelium also. However, the cells of primordial germ cells will not originate from germinal epithelium. So you can also call it as epithelium. So this complete outer covering will be made up of epithelium. Just below the epithelium, there is a layer of connective tissue, tough connective tissue called tunica albuginea. So it is this tough connective tissue also was explained by Ali. It's basically a connective tissue and it is called as tunica albuginea. It is present just below the epithelium. However, it can also be called germinal epithelium, but primordial follicles cell do not originate from this epithelium. The second layer, that is tunica albuginea, it is a connective tissue layer. It is fibrous connective tissue layer just present below the epithelium. And major remaining part of the ovary, there is this whole remaining part of the ovary, that is called as stroma. Now stroma has two divisions, the cortex and medulla. Now where is cortex located is the outer part, that is the peripheral part or outer part, that is called as cortex. This one. So this is nothing but an outer cortex. Outer cortex, and the central part will be medulla. So the center of the ovary will be called medulla. And this region through which all the important structure enter and exit the ovary, that can also be called hilus. And you can see there is a supply of oxygenated blood by artery and return of deoxygenated blood through veins, so artery vein supply. To return the interstitium, there will be lymphatic vessels and also innervations. So this is through this region only is going to enter into this organ called ovary. Now what kind of cells will be present either in cortex and medulla? A tightly packed cells called stromal cells will be present. So therefore, stroma contains stromal cells. Then what all development occurs in the cortex of the, and what development occurs in the medulla? In the medullary region, as such, no follicular development will not occur, but in the cortex what happens? Follicular development occurs. Now what are follicles? You should know that when follicular development will be going on in cortex. What does it mean? Follicles are group of cells. Now when I say it is just group of cells like this, you can't call it as a follicle. It is just a solid mass of cell. So it is just a solid mass of cell. But enclosed enclose a cavity at the center, then what? It can be called as follicles. So here also, whether it is thyroid follicle or ovary follicle, typically it will have this structure. So here also in the cortex of ovary, follicular development will be occurring, and these follicles are called ovarian follicles. So I will describe about various types of ovarian follicles and how do they develop. Now in embryonic stage, so primordial germ cells will migrate into the genital ridge and start developing a cell called oogonia, which will in future form ovum. So this is, let's consider now this is oogonia cell, and this cell, after entering into ovum, I mean in the embryonic stage, after entering into the ovary during the embryonic stages, it will be surrounded by, it will undergo division. First the oogonia will be surrounded by flat cells. These cells are very flat cells. Inside the cell, this is oogonia. Of course, it will have nucleus, nucleolus, cytoplasm, all just like typical other cell. It is a diploid cell where the chromosome number is 46. Oogonia surrounded by flat cells. What is important is flat cells. That means these follicle cells, which are represented in red color, they are supposed to be flat, and that kind of follicle is called primordial follicle. Primordial follicles. Now this primordial follicle will be several of them, okay, will be there. They undergo atresia after the birth. Only around a max of 80,000 will be left. Now this should undergo development now. This primordial follicle should transform into and develop into primary follicle. Primary follicle should develop into secondary follicle, and secondary follicle should develop into tertiary, and finally a mature Graafian follicle should be formed. And this Graafian follicle is also called dominant follicle. So here primordial follicles, how does it develop? So during development of follicles is hormonally driven. It means that certain hormones are required for development of follicles. And one of the key hormone, as the name itself will suggest, in the name itself, everything is being explained here. What is that? Follicle stimulating hormone. What is the role of this hormone? It is going to stimulate these follicles and help it to mature further. That means it will stimulate primordial follicle to develop into primary follicle to develop into secondary follicle to tertiary, and finally a mature Graafian follicle is formed. So that is the function, and that also lies in the name of the hormone called follicle stimulating hormone. Now again, oogonia will develop and form primary oocyte. So here what will be there is, not here it was primordial where flat cells are there. Flat cells will be there here. But here oocyte will start undergoing multiplication phase, and the primary oocyte is formed. Now this primary oocyte is surrounded by follicular cells, but this time the follicular cells won't be flat, it will be somewhat cuboidal. They become larger in size. So instead of flat cells, they become cuboidal or become larger in. Now at this point, this kind of follicles are called as primary follicles. Now what is ultimately the role of follicles? Now follicular cells, they surround the oocyte, which will future become ovum. It is a prospective, I mean in the future it is going to become an ovum. Now these follicular cells will provide nourishment for the developing oocyte. It means that oocyte develops in this container called as group of follicles. Now as puberty starts, the development of follicles starts. When the development of follicles start, you should know when it will start developing primary, secondary, tertiary, Graafian, like that. It will start when a lady or when a female will start attaining puberty. So when puberty starts, which hormone will be there? Follicle stimulating hormone, and this hormone will stimulate the follicles from primary, secondary, tertiary and Graafian, as I have already told. Now due to follicle stimulating hormone during puberty, further development takes place. Again here the stage will be only primary oocyte. This was oogonia. Oogonia will develop and grow into primary oocyte, and then third follicle also still it will remain in primary oocyte, but nature of surrounding cells changes. That is nature of follicular cell changes. First follicular cell was flat, later on it became larger, and now the number of layers will increase. When the number of layers keep on increasing, at this point we can change, you can use a different word instead of using follicle cells. You can use granulosa cells. Otherwise they are saying follicle cells only, but when the number of layers will increase, you can see the number of layers will further increase, and in tertiary follicles still more it is going to increase. Okay, when number of layers increases, then instead of calling it as follicular cells, you have to call as granulosa cells. Now as the number of layers are increased, follicular layers increase, but the stage is the same, primary oocyte. Now this is called secondary oocyte. Not oocyte, secondary follicle, but the oocyte is in which stage? Primary oocyte. So stage here is primary oocyte, and this entire follicle is called secondary follicle. Now further development occurs. So further what is there? Follicle stimulating hormone is there, development can occur. When follicle stimulating hormone is not sufficient, then follicles can't develop. Now from secondary follicle, further layers will keep on adding, layers of follicular cells keep on adding to form tertiary follicle. But what happens in tertiary follicle is, minute cavities, small cavities starts appearing due to accumulation of fluids, and these fluids will be secreted by granulosa cells. And in secondary oocyte stage itself, a layer starts forming, even though it doesn't complete, it starts forming initially slowly, and that is zona pellucida. But it will complete only when I'll explain about it as I tell about Graphene follicle. So here you can see a small cavity is formed in the tertiary follicle. This is initially very small cavities will be forming, that is filled with the fluid, and those fluid will be secreted by the granulosa cells. Now tertiary follicle has been developed due to FSH hormone. This development has been taking place, and this can take only in the woman who has attained the puberty. This is nothing but tertiary follicle. Now tertiary follicle will finally develop into highly well developed follicle called as Graafian follicle. And this follicle, now as there is tertiary follicle, as Graafian follicle is formed, the oocyte will start undergoing meiosis 1. However, you will study this oogenesis in detail later. So meiosis 1, when it occurs and gets arrested in prophase, that is diplotic stage of prophase. And certain cells surround the secondary oocyte. Now this all these are, this is oogonia, this is primary oocyte, this will be secondary oocyte. So this is a diagram of mature Graafian follicle. These are the surrounding cells, different surrounding stomach cells can differentiate and form theca externa. Now Graafian follicle, this mature Graafian follicle will have an ovum inside, and which has developed a layer surrounding it, and this layer is called zona pellucida. Zona pellucida is formed just next to the plasma membrane, surrounding the plasma membrane. It is a non-cellular layer which is transparent and is rich in glycoproteins. Now what are the different parts of Graafian follicle? You can see this one, outermost layer, is called theca externa. Theca is a wall. It is basically derived from the surrounding stromal cells and is rich in connective tissue. Whereas theca interna here, these cells are they are rich. This layer, this wall, theca interna, is rich in cells rather than being rich in fibers. They are called as theca interna cells. They can help in producing estrogen. And granulosa cells, they also play a role in production of estrogen. So therefore theca externa, theca interna, membrana granulosa and a big cavity. That means whatever small cavities were formed, they will fuse and form a big cavity called antrum. So which is this cavity called? Antrum, and is filled with a fluid whose name is liquor folliculi. So this is liquor follicular fluid filled here, that is will be gradually released by the surrounding cells. And this is the egg proper. See, so many cells are surrounding the egg. So therefore this one here, exact the egg cell is that's called as egg proper, and it is surrounded by a membrane called zona pellucida. Then follicular cells, or you can tell now granulosa cells. Since the number of layers have increased now we can use the word granulosa cells. Therefore this layer which forms a membrane here, membrana granulosa. And some of the granulosa cells start surrounding the ovum itself. They become very close to the ovum here. These cells are called as corona radiata cells. So this was about the structure of Graafian follicle. Now in this, what is the stage? So this is called the Graafian follicle, the mature follicle called Graafian follicle. And the stage here it was oogonia, here it is primary oocyte, here also primary oocyte, somewhere here the meiosis occurs. So Graafian follicle will have secondary oocyte. It means it is the ovum which is still not matured. Still ovum is not formed, but still it is immature state only. The ovum is in an immature state, and that is called as secondary oocyte stage. Now what happens is, in 14th day of menstrual cycle, so every woman will experience menstrual cycle, and it has a total length of 28 days. In 14th day what happens is, this Graafian follicle will rupture. Okay. So when this Graafian follicle will rupture, okay, the ovum which is present inside will be released. Now here ovum means which stage it is? Secondary oocyte stage. So this is going to be released. So only the ovum or only the secondary oocyte won't be released, or you can tell ovum in which stage? Secondary oocyte stage. So this will be surrounded by zona pellucida. So that means when there is a release of oocyte, along with it takes zona pellucida and the surrounding cells called corona radiata cells. When Graafian follicle ruptures, this part is released outside under the again hormonal influence like LH, luteinizing hormone. Now left out part is the follicular cells are left out, or the granulosa cells. See, number of layers increase, you can still see granulosa cells, follicular cells are here now still. This is called a remnant of Graafian follicle. The left out part is called as a remnant of Graafian follicle. Now that will change into a gland, temporary endocrine gland, and that is called corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. Now if there is no fertilization with the sperm, or the ovum will not get fertilized with the sperm means, corpus luteum will degenerate and form one more degenerated structure called corpus albicans. It will get degenerated and form corpus albicans. So you can see all these development is taking place in cortex. And of course medulla will be rich in stromal cells, and all of the blood supply goes, the bigger branches will remain here, then as distribution of the smaller branches reach to the periphery of the ovary. So this was about cross section of ovary. So it has germinal epithelium, otherwise you can just call it epithelium, followed by tunica albuginea, cortex and medulla. When you combine cortex and medulla together, you can call it as stroma. And the stroma has packed cells called stromal cells. Next, I will explain about structure of mammary glands. First, generally, what you should know about mammary glands is they are unique features of mammals. The purpose of mammary gland is production of milk that is used to nourish the young ones. So human milk is produced in mammary glands and that is used to nourish young ones. And you should know that in female, even though mammary gland is functional, but in male it is not functional. So it is a vestigial organ in male. Now, what is mammary glands? How is it defined as? It is a prominences, okay, a pair of prominences found just in the front of pectoralis major. So it's a combination of fatty tissues, connective tissues and glandular tissues. All they combine and become a part of this particular structure called mammary glands. So whenever there is a milk, whenever the milk is secreted, that secretion and production of milk is called lactation, and lactation occurs after parturition. That means after delivery process, what starts in is inside the body of female there is a hormone called prolactin which will start the production of milk in the mammary glands. And once the production of milk starts, that continues for up till 6 months, and therefore this period is called lactation period. The 6-month period on an average is called as lactation period, and that phenomena in which the milk is produced inside a mammary gland, that is called as only lactation. Now I am going to explain the structure of mammary glands. Now, these are the cross section of the ribs. front of these ribs, what is present is a pair of hemispherical prominences are present, and this itself is called mammary glands. Now in front of these ribs, there is one muscle called pectoralis major. And in front of it will be what is called, just in front of this ribs and this muscle called pectoralis major, the mammary gland is supposed to be located. Now, what are the divisions of the mammary glands? Mammary gland is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes. So there are 15 to 20 of them. Mammary lobes are present. Now, consider these are the lobes. Such type of lobes will be 15 to 20. Now, what each lobe consists of is, each lobe has several milk secreting units called alveoli. So, this is the mammary lobe. Inside these mammary lobes, several milk secreting units called alveoli. Like this, the lobe will be having several alveoli. So these are alveoli. How do you define it? Alveoli is milk secreting units of mammary glands. Mammary glands. Now, this is called glandular portion of mammary glands. Okay. Then one more part is there. Another portion is the duct portion. Why it is called glandular portion? Because the milk is secreted here in the milk secreting unit called alveoli. How is alveoli? Now alveoli is cluster of cells. Now this is milk secreting cell. Cluster of milk secreting cell will together form what? Alveoli. And therefore there is a cavity at the center. When these cells secrete milk, the milk is going to get collected in this cavity. Alveolar cavity. Then the milk that gets collected further is pushed into the duct system now. Two main portions. One is glandular portion, another is duct portion. This duct is raised from the line. It is called mammary tubule. So this should be ducts arising from alveoli. So here mammary tubules will arise from alveoli. So here the first tubule will be mammary tubule. First tubule will be mammary tubule. Now all the mammary tubules in a single lobe will join and form a bigger tubule. This one is called as mammary duct. then several mammary duct will further form and become enlarged, or you can tell dilated like this. This is called lactiferous sinus. Lactiferous sinus is also called mammary ampulla. Now, arising from lactiferous sinus are further very smaller tubes. These tubes are called lactiferous ducts. And lactiferous duct, many of them open to the surface of nipple, and nipple has surrounding pigmented area called areolae. So comes and so this is the structure of, likewise similarly 15 to 20 lobes will be there. And surrounding here, that is surrounding this, there will be surrounding the leaving the duct system, the surrounding will be rich in fatty tissue that determines the size of the gland. So this completes. Now, two hormones are there in mammary glands. One is oxytocin. The second one is prolactin. These two hormones can control the functioning of mammary glands. Now, immediately after the delivery, body starts secreting more amount of prolactin from pituitary gland. When the concentration of prolactin increases, then due to prolactin effect, which hormone effect? Prolactin effect, these cells will start rapidly secreting the milk, which will get collected in the cavity of alveoli, and therefore prolactin is called milk secreting hormone. It is originally secreted in pituitary, and through blood circulatory system it will reach to the alveolar cells of mammary glands, then stimulate them to produce the milk. So which is the milk secreting hormone? Prolactin. Once the milk is secreted, the function of prolactin is over. Now how is that milk pushed in the ducts? What is the path of which flows? First is mammary tubule, then it will go in mammary duct, then it goes in lactiferous sinus, then come back the lactiferous duct, and then the outside of the body, finally released outside the body. This is called milk ejection. That means the stored milk is pushed outside or ejected outside, and it is controlled by a nervous reflex called milk ejection reflex. Now for milk ejection, there is one more hormone called oxytocin. Now the role of this hormone is, it will, you can tell in a common sense, will push the milk that is stored here finally into the duct system. Two portions. This is glandular portion, this is duct portion. Now that is called oxytocin. Oxytocin is secreted by hypothalamus gland, and it is stored in posterior pituitary and it will be released from the posterior pituitary. Now this oxytocin, what it does is, it is going to act on myoepithelial cells that are surrounding this alveoli, stimulate them to contract because they have a similar function like smooth muscles, stimulate them to contract, and because of which what happens, the milk is pushed into the duct system, and therefore which is the milk ejection hormone? Oxytocin. So this completes the structure of mammary glands. Next is hormonal control in male reproductive system. So I am going to explain the hormonal control in male. So hormonal control in male also has the reproductive phase, as you all know. They also enter into reproductive phase. They also enter into puberty, and during puberty, what sets in is certain hormones become more in concentration, like testosterone, and when testosterone is more, that can also stimulate secondary sexual character and as well as production of sperms. These changes will be controlled by a mechanism, and that mechanism I am going to explain now. The hormonal control in male reproductive system begins with the gland called hypothalamus gland. So this hypothalamus gland, what this gland is, you already know that it is supposed to be present below the thalamus of the brain, and it is neuroendocrine system. That means it is a part of the brain that has that will also secrete the hormones. Okay. So why? Because it has special nerve cells that have capacity to produce hormones. So hormone producing nerve cells are called as neuroendocrine cells, and the hormones are called neurohormones. Now when male attains puberty, then hypothalamus starts secreting the hormone through its regions called nuclei, which I have already studied in first year. So these glands have centers called nuclei, like preoptic arcuate and all. They have nuclei, and those nuclei will start secreting the hormones. And for this mechanism, there is a hormone called GnRH. So hypothalamus secretes GnRH hormone. when when male attains puberty. What is GnRH? It is gonadotropin releasing hormone. By looking into this word, you should know that it is stimulating pituitary to release its respective hormone. By the name itself you can come to know. So here hypothalamus controls pituitary, and pituitary is itself called what? Master glands, because it controls all other glands of the body. So glands of the body are controlled by master gland called pituitary, and pituitary in turn is controlled by hypothalamus. You should know the name, gonadotropin releasing hormone. This hormone goes and binds to receptors present in the cells of the pituitary gland, and that too anterior pituitary, that is adenohypophysis. This hormone stimulates the cells present in the anterior pituitary, specific cells present in the anterior pituitary that are meant for secreting gonadotropins. Okay. So gonadotropin releasing hormone will stimulate pituitary to release gonadotropins. Now gonadotropins becomes hormones of whom? Pituitary gland. So in response to gonadotropin releasing hormone, pituitary secretes gonadotropins, and those gonadotropins are FSH and LH. Now these two together are called as gonadotropins. These hormones' target will be what? Gonads, that is testes, and here in male it will be testis, in case of female it will be ovary. And even in female same hormones will be released, but effect will be different. In male it has a different outcome, and in the female it has a different outcome. Now, what function FSH does? FSH will stimulate Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells, I told last time, they are sustentacular cells, nerve cells. So that it will start what? So that it will start secreting hormone called androgen binding protein and attracts the androgen inside these cells, so that androgen becomes and then pass these cells and reach into the lumen of seminiferous tubule. So it helps in concentrating the testosterone in the lumen of seminiferous tubules. And because of that, what occurs is spermatogenesis. So this is the function of what? The Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells concentrates this testosterone in the seminiferous tubules, and testosterone is necessary for sperm production. When testosterone enters, when it attracts testosterone in seminiferous tubules, that time what starts is sperm production starts, or spermatogenesis starts. Now this one, next hormone, luteinizing hormone. Now again you have to go back. This is seminiferous tubules. It has germinal epithelium Sertoli cells, germinal epithelium Sertoli cells. Such type of how many seminiferous tubules will be there in testicular lobule? 1 to 3. Now consider these are the 3 seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules is all. Now between the seminiferous tubules, what is present? I told already, interstitium is present, and therefore what cells will be present? Interstitial cells. And they have a name named after the scientist. Even Sertoli is named after the scientist. So here these cells are called Leydig cells. Leydig cells. And I told already, Leydig cells are endocrine cells, and they secrete a hormone called testosterone, which is an example of an androgen. One of the examples of androgen. Now, what LH does is, it will stimulate Leydig cells. So, what are Leydig cells called? Interstitial cells. So, it will stimulate which cell? Interstitial cells. Therefore, LH is also called interstitial cell stimulating hormone. And that too only in the male. In the female it is not called so. Only in the male it is called ICSH. So this hormone will stimulate Leydig cells which are present outside the seminiferous tubule. That is in the interstitium, outside the seminiferous tubule. Now, as a result, Leydig cells will start producing testosterone, steroid hormone. Now, what this does, Sertoli cells will start producing the protein called antigen binding protein. It will attract the testosterone that is produced by Leydig cells, so that the testosterone concentration is more in the seminiferous tubule and the spermatogenesis will increase. So what will occur? Spermatogenesis, that will with the help of what? Testosterone. Who will attract testosterone? Testosterone is actually produced outside the seminiferous tubule and spermatogenesis is going inside. And for spermatogenesis, which is the hormone necessary? Testosterone. So what is happening is FSH goes and binds and stimulates to Sertoli cells so that it can produce a protein that can attract the testosterone towards the seminiferous tubules, so that its concentration increases several times than the normal concentration. And when the concentration of testosterone is more inside the seminiferous tubule, then what occurs is spermatogenesis occurs. So this was about the positive response. Now, hormonal control is there. There should be control. All the time there should not be spermatogenesis, or all the time the testosterone cannot be produced, because the body has several other functions to perform simultaneously. So there should not be any energy drain towards only one physiological functions. As a result, what happens? Control should be there. Now what happens here? Sperms are developed, spermatogenesis are occurred, enough sperms are produced now. Now what has to be stopped? FSH production has to be stopped. Otherwise what happens? Continuously large amount of sperms will be produced. So there should be a check over the production of sperms, or control over the production of sperms. And here also, once the testosterone is formed, its concentration cannot exceed the limit. That means there should be control over the amount of testosterone also. So what should be done? LH should be stopped. When LH is less, even what is less? Testosterone is less. And when FSH is less, what becomes less is even sperm concentration will come under the control. Understand? Now otherwise what happens? Suppose these are very less. When testosterone is less, when sperms are less, then what should occur? FSH should get stimulated, produced, and LH should be produced, and finally spermatogenesis should occur and testosterone production should occur. Now consider a situation as occurred, where what is more now? Enough sperms have been produced and there is also enough testosterone. Now what has to be done is these two production has to be inhibited or decreased. For that, use the word control hormone. Now, when enough sperms are there, because sperm concentration has got enough, in that case, Sertoli cells will start releasing a hormone called inhibin. What this molecule, what this hormone does, what the inhibin does. Inhibin is a hormone, therefore it should move through the blood circulatory system, finally enter into the blood circulatory system and reach what? The glands and various parts of the body. Now this inhibin, what it does is, negative means what? Decrease. It will inhibit what? Pituitary gland from producing FSH. This is called negative feedback inhibition. What was the positive feedback inhibition? Positive feedback inhibition is this one, where there was increase in the end product. These two. Negative feedback is whatever the end products are there here, they will decrease. That is called as negative feedback. If it increases, it is called as positive feedback. To stop, to decrease these, what occurs is negative feedback inhibition occurs. Now this was the function of a hormone released by Sertoli cells called inhibin. Now, here who will stop LH or ICS? Who will inhibit it so that whose concentration is controlled now? Testosterone. Testosterone concentration has now become sufficient. Now its production has to be put under control or it should be reduced. For that, what should be stopped? LH should be inhibited or stopped from secreting by pituitary. Now testosterone will do in its own inhibition. So when testosterone becomes more, this testosterone has a capacity to inhibit anterior pituitary. At the same time, it has capacity to inhibit the hypothalamus gland. When both are inhibited, so what will be less? GnRH will be less. When GnRH is less, both FSH and LH will be less. And it will also directly inhibit the pituitary. So what is less? LH is less. When LH is less, Leydig cells will not get activated. When Leydig cell is not activated, the concentration of testosterone will not stop. Okay. Now, as and when testosterone becomes very less, it does not have capacity to inhibit what? Hypothalamus as well as pituitary. In that case, again, those glands are free to release GnRH. And once GnRH is released, these events will occur again. Testosterone will increase to sufficient normal concentration, and then again it will feed back inhibit. So this is how there is a hormonal control in male reproductive system. What? So testosterone, you know, functions of testosterone. It is responsible for secondary sexual characters in male. Okay, that you have already studied. Typical secondary sexual characters that will appear in the male during puberty, like coarse-wise appearance of hair, all those secondary sexual characters is due to testosterone. And is an anabolic. All those molecules which are similar to testosterone are anabolic in nature. Okay, they cannot use the catabolic reactions. So here what happens? Testosterone has capacity to inhibit these glands, so that ultimately what should be less? This side inhibin is going to be inhibiting FSH and IL. So that is how it is regulated. Testosterone production, sperm production is regulated. So here also it is called negative feedback inhibition. It's called as negative feedback. And additional, you also came to know that apart from secondary sexual characters, today you also came to know that at cell level, this testosterone is very good to induce spermatogenesis. So this completes hormonal control in male reproductive system. And further topics will be dealt in the next class.
ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಸರ್ ಹೌದ್ರಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಇದು ಮೇಡಮ್ ಆಯ್ತು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ಆಯ್ತು ಆಯ್ತು